Welcome to Aspen City Hall for tonight's work session. It is May 4th, 2026, and we are going to start with board and commission interviews. And I'd really like to start with Wheeler because apparently Ziska has some time commitments, so we'll hear from Ziska first.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, I guess, would you like to start, Sam?
Sure. Ziska, good to see you. I remember the last time we did these reappointments, it was also you and Nina. I know you had some fun little critiques of the Wheeler board, so I'll just ask you, how do you think things are going right now?
I'm much happier than
You
I
are?
was 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, market improvement. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Also, I think for the Wheeler board, it's important to note that we're talking about term limits next week, and I just wanted to know how you felt about that as a longtime member. There's some belief, including myself, that some turnover is good at a certain point, maybe being able to come back in the same way that city council term limits are, but I'd love to reappoint you, but I'd also like to just state that, like, I think at some point there's need for turnover, and I wanted to see how you felt about that.
I think that getting new blood in is very important. I also think it is higher on my radar whether or not you have people that are familiar with the workings of theater. When this board was originally put together in, I think it was 79, you had the largest number of voting members were in the arts, and that is not the case now, since it changed from a board of directors to an advisory board. And I think it's crucial to have people that actually understand the workings of the business on the board. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
You definitely have to have other input from other sources and other expertises, but with a theater this old, there's just some stuff that is institutional knowledge.
Absolutely.
So you can term limit me, and then you can hire me back as a consultant, and I'll charge you my consultant fee.
You always come back. Have a legacy board. Other than that, I would only ask, is there anything else you'd like to discuss while you have this opportunity in front of council, since we don't get to see you as often as we could?
If there was one thing that I would ask for the Wheeler, I would say restore the original proscenium. The look that we have now, it's kind of like the top 1/4 of a proscenium, and the two pieces, if you look at there's a photograph in the bar area. If you look at sort of the east side of the bar area, tucked way back in a corner, you can see what that original proscenium looked like.
Can you tell us what a proscenium is?
A proscenium, think of a picture frame. And it's the picture frame behind which the actors perform and in front of which the audience sits. So it's kind of that framing mechanism. It's been something that we've been doing since the late 16th century. So this is the type of theater that you have in the Wheeler. It's a proscenium theater. And the thing that the proscenium accomplishes is we get to hide behind it when we're backstage. We get to put things where the audience can't see them so that it's magic when they appear. And it also helps the acoustics a lot. So in a small theater that was designed for the acoustics for trained voices back in the 19th century, I mean, one of the things that I remember the most about seeing the Wheeler before the restoration was a performance of John Denver with Earl Scruggs as backup acoustic. And you did not need any amplification for that whatsoever. I'm not saying that restoring that proscenium arch to its original shape would eliminate the need for acoustics because that has changed. The new demands are different demands, but it would certainly help.
I appreciate that. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thanks for your service. Sam addressed most of the things that I'd asked, but I wanted to dive a little further into your comment about being much happier now than you were 3 years ago. And could you expand on that a little bit? Why are you happier, and then what's left to address in your mind still?
I love to see a full theater. And that was one of my major frustrations the last time, the underutilization of the space. And the shows that I've attended this year and the numbers that we as the board have been looking at, we are doing above 90%, a lot. We're doing above 70%, a lot. I mean, that's good. And we're also bringing, I mean, it's not that we've sacrificed our local talent or our local connections to do that. It's just that the outreach to the community has been much better, and we have somebody who is at the helm, who's a professional in the business that can go out and get those productions and bring them in, and is helping with the reputation of the theater globally. And that's what it takes. We're a word-of-mouth business. You don't see advertisements out there, really. I mean, it's just, who do you know? Are they any good? Do I want to go back? And there are many things that we can do to improve upon that, but I believe that Mike is doing a very good job in a very smart way. You can't go too fast because you don't want to miss your important points. You don't want to go too slow because then nobody's going to remember you. It's a very difficult game, especially with our technical challenges.
Yeah, agreed on Mike and everything you said. Thanks. What's left in your mind for you to improve upon at the Wheeler, other than the physical proscenium?
Proscenium.
Proscenium.
I mean, that's just my wish list. I would continue to work on the technical theater is what I do. So that's where my emphasis will be. I think we can get more people working backstage. I think we can do more with an internship program. I think we can really beef up what we can do upstage of that proscenium line for the technical side of it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thanks again for your service.
I was just going to start off by saying thanks for your service too, but clearly you know more about the Wheeler than most people. So I'm happy to hear the news that you're happier than you were before. You're painting a pretty rosy picture of what's going on at the Wheeler right now, and from what I've witnessed, it does look pretty good from my point of view too. So I think that's it.
You got Christine online.
Oh, Christine, that's right, I'm sorry. Christine, would you like to ask Lisa some questions?
No, I think you covered it all. Thanks for reapplying, Ziska.
Thank you, Christine.
Thanks.
Thanks, John. Thanks,
Welcome.
Sam. Thanks, Bill. Now I'm going to run away.
All right.
See you.
All right, next up is Nina Gabinelli.
Hi.
Hey, Nina. Thanks for being here. Thanks for reapplying. I'll again see if Sam or Bill has questions for you.
It's going to be the same questions as far as, yeah.
Limits and,
Yeah, term limits and the critiques and the things you're looking forward to, so.
sure. Well, first off, it is my honor to serve on the board at the Wheeler. I think it's an incredible trajectory that we are on now versus the bumpy road that has happened over I guess I've been on the board now for 9 years. This would be my 4th term. Wow, okay. And through a lot of different directors and different councils too. And so the support from the council is extraordinary right now, and we appreciate that very much. and the city of Aspen. And I think that, Mike is knocking it out of the park and making our job really just, we kind of hear the reports and approve. The new sound system is really exciting. So there's just a lot of going on that's going well. The outreach and education program, I think, has been an incredible boom this year. That's something that we have a lot more room to grow with over the, in the future. So that would be something that I think I would like to see more of, getting younger audiences into a theater.
Great. And your feeling on the term limits?
It's an advisory board.
Yeah.
I think that, like Ziska said, the institutional knowledge is important. It's also, I agree with her, we are amongst the few who have theatrical backgrounds as well. And when you're talking about, for example, I'll give you the example of the sound system. When people were talking about putting in a new sound system, people think, ooh, big speakers and hanging those big racks like you see in an arena. And I could hardly speak, because there are ways in this world to do things without that. And I think it's important to keep the historical and theatrical preservation of this beautiful resource as pristine and as true as possible. And so I think term limits, obviously, if we were not functioning well, perhaps it would be an issue, but I don't see it as an issue today with the board that we have, because we do have newer members and older members and people coming and going off the board,
Understood.
personally.
Thank you.
I guess thank you again for your service, and I would ask, what have you been able to accomplish in your last term on the board that was important to you, and what would you like to accomplish in the future?
I think just being sure to give the historical perspective is an important piece that I'm able to do. A lot of people apply to be on the Wheeler board and have not ever even sat in a meeting of the Wheeler board and really don't quite understand what we do. And an advisory, as an advisory board. So I think that that's an important piece of it. Just keeping us grounded and remembering that we are a small town with big time venue, but a small town, and keeping that in perspective and who we are as a community and who Aspen is in relation to everything else too. I think making sure that our character of Aspen stays foremost in our decision making.
Thanks, Nina.
Great, thanks. Again, thanks for your service. I know you have institutional knowledge about the Wheeler as well, and thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
Oh, Christine has some questions, I hope.
Sam, you all covered it. Thanks again for applying, Nina.
Good to hear your voice.
You too.
All right.
Thanks, Nia.
Thanks,
It
Ian.
has been a pleasure.
Next up is David Crowley.
Thank you, John. It's Crowley.
Crowley,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, not a problem. Hey, Pete.
All right. Thank you for applying. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and
Of
how long
course.
you've been in the Valley?
Yes, I've been here in this chair a couple of times, so I support term limits.
Noted.
Be delighted to serve, and whenever I'm told I'm not needed any longer, I'd be delighted to step down. I figured that's one of your questions I'd answer in advance. I've been coming to the Valley over 20 years, and 5 years ago, like many families, we came to our home and never left, and have just absolutely made the best decision of our lives, and have enjoyed the last 5 years. If you look at my application, I've been involved in Pitkin County Board of Elections. I've served with them for the last 3 or 4 years on all the primaries, all the general elections. I've been an AVSC coach for 4 seasons. I'm sure I'll do it next season, although I'm getting up a bit in age to keep up with those kids. But I'll do my best. My old friend John McBride first hired me back 5 years ago, and I've been grateful and satisfied for for that kind of work. I'd never coached or never taught anything, so it's been very gratifying. And
Great.
even had dinner last night with parents of one of my athletes, so it's a nice connection to the community. But it's only 32 days a year, so I've got a lot more time on my hands. I'm sort of semi-retired, and I'd be delighted to put my skills, knowledge, background, as you can see in my application, to perhaps bring something new, say maybe somebody hasn't thought of at the Wheeler. I've been going there for 20 years. I'm just delighted, and went to Beatlemania last month. It was fabulous. And I think I touched on a few bullet points in there about some of the things I think they could expand on. And all in the name, I guess, of utilizing such a wonderful asset, so unique in a town like this.
Well, I really appreciate your, the time you've spent on the election board as well as with AVSC. Questions from either of you?
Not to give you the time you deserve, David, but you've been up here before, so I do feel well-versed in your credentials, and I very much appreciate them and look forward to you serving on the board one of these days when there's more of openings for it. But I've read your resume, and I very much think you're more than qualified for the Wheeler Opera Board.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thanks for your persistence in your applications, David, and forgive me because I likely asked you this in the past. But in case I didn't, or just to refresh my memory, why is your interest in Wheeler Board? Why that board as opposed to anything else?
Well, it's an entertainment venue. It's the entertainment venue in our valley, I think. And if you look in my application, I've got a background in the independent cinema business that I was a partner in 20 plus years ago. And out of that came just a wonderful time in my life. I was young, and I really want to get back into that facet of my life, I guess, my past, and really enjoyed it. Love to get back into it. And as a volunteer, perfectly fine. So.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Christine? Any questions for David?
No, thanks for applying again.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, next up is Joni Klar. Is Joni in the room?
I don't see her.
Don't see Joni in the room. We'll move on to Drew Doherty. Hi, Drew. Welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience on Grassroots.
Okay. Drew Doherty. I live here in Aspen. And I love attending the events at the Wheeler, which I do a lot. And it's such a driver of such a vibrant arts community, body, mind, and spirit. Would you like me to tell a little bit about why?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know I'm going to ask you anyways.
So I'll start. So, so I grew up here as a kid, graduated from Aspen High School. It took me 41 years to get back, but I'm very rooted, and that was about 10 years ago. So I'm very rooted in kind of, it's in my blood, love and caring for Aspen, its history, and its roots in the Pepke vision, the body, mind, and spirit, and what we have here with the mountains, with, the incredibly vibrant culture all in one place. And the healthy lifestyle is a world asset that's probably not exceeded. So that needs to be fostered. And so that's kind of my motivation. So I bring that. That's my motivation. And skills-wise, my career's in, I guess you could say, community engagement. I started out a while ago. I'm semi-retired now, as press secretary and campaign manager for a congressman in Silicon Valley. So community engagement and the importance of that and communication. And then my business part of my background was in marketing and strategic planning for a major medical device company, Medtronic. So that kind of strategic planning orientation and kind of MBA-ness of how organizations work. And then the past 30 years, I founded and have run a leadership consulting firm. So that's training and coaching leadership and organizational health and culture and innovation. So I think I could bring some to that kind of thing. And volunteer-wise in the community, I've designed and facilitated board retreats as on a volunteer basis, like for Roaring Fork Leadership, where I'm also an advisor for the Aspen Chapel. I'm doing that now for Aspen Film. So how organizations work, how boards can optimize their performance and be best is something I bring a lot of background and would like to, apply that and give back and contribute. That's why I'm interested in doing this. And then, style-wise, you don't know me. I don't know any of you individually. I voted for some of you. Is just very positive collaborator, not a conflict generator or a bomb thrower, and kind of an ideator. I've just got lots of, generative energy that way. I don't know if if you're aware of the Strengths Finder assessment tool out there. So, yeah, that's one of them. And very action-oriented. I'm a doer. So I like to drive things into actual action rather than just talk about things and simply process-oriented. So that's kind of, motivation, skills, and style that I would like to bring.
My only real question was, I noticed you split your time between here and California. Where do you spend the majority of your time?
Where did you see that?
I think that was
In your resume?
in your resume.
Oh, on my website or something like that. No, I live here full-time. That was probably old news because a lot of my clients, most of them, they're not here. I volunteer here. My clients are in Silicon Valley and California and East Coast. So that's where my work is. But when I moved here, it was to live here, come back home where my heart and spirit is, and do my work out there. So post-Zoom, I don't have to travel very much at all, but I live here full-time.
Great. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Christine, do you have any questions?
No, just if you have only applied for the Wheeler, I believe, and so sometimes we ask if you were not placed on the Wheeler, were there any other boards you'd be interested in serving on?
Potentially. I think the Wheeler is just such a driver, and it can be as such, it can be optimized in terms of, driving. It's such a driver of the arts and culture and economy here. It's a star. So I would like to, I think there's huge potential to even increase, the utilization, the processes to help with that. Bringing in the increase in the level of performances and talent brought in is fantastic, and that can continue. I think kind of a collaboration with the other arts and culture entities in the community, whether it's Jazz Aspen or the Red Brick or the art museum, even the chapel. I think that there's probably synergies there that can grow the pie for everyone to continue. So that's just one way on the margin that it can be, its success can be, continued and kind of leverage all of that. So that's kind of the exciting one to me. The airport's of great interest to me. I'm a pilot, but I think that's highly subscribed and kind of bogged down in process that I don't think there's a whole lot of more impact to make. So I'd be interested where it's interesting to me and my passions, and I could have an impact. So that's why, Wheeler is attractive to me.
Thanks.
Great, thanks for applying.
Okay, that's it?
I would just ask you, do you see you sort of answer in what you just said, but do you see yourself maintaining more of the status quo upward trajectory of what the current board's doing, or do you have any ideas or critiques that you feel like are not being implemented right now? Because you're eminently qualified with all the things that you do.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there was any more specifics you wanted to address
Yeah.
today.
I don't have any criticisms, other than as a user, the ticketing interface is, it takes too much time of people having to talk on the phone, and you do it the old-fashioned way, and I like that. But I think that really can be improved, because that's part of, increasing the crowds is making it easier, as well as outreach. And I think it was Nina who said a younger audience. Sometimes when I go in there, there's a lot of gray hair like this. So, that's the only critiques I have. Otherwise, the program, what Harrington is doing is obviously amazing. And I think the opportunity is synergy and collaboration and with the ecosystem of the other entities in town. I don't have specific, but I think that's an area that can be win-win and grow the pie for all rather than competing, and there's one big dog who has all the money and everyone else wants it. I really think that that's something that could, kind of grow the overall brand as an attractant to talent. And so I think it's an area for opportunity. But I guess process is my only criticism.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I got nothing.
Nothing.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. Oh, Doherty, right. Okay, that's it for the Wheeler. Next up is, I guess we're going to go with animal shelters. Diane Wozlich in the audience. Don't see her online. All right, I think we'll move on to the Board of Adjustments. Is Victoria Thomas in the room? Hey, Victoria, come on up.
Hi,
Hi, please introduce yourself for Grassroots TV audience.
I'm Tori Thomas. I've lived here for 36 years. I've done a lot of volunteer work, and you'll have to probably ask me specific things to get it out of me, but I volunteered for Response, Ascendigo, English in Action. I was on the Board of Realtors for 7 years, including being president, and I currently serve on RFOV, Roaring Fork Outdoor Volunteers, and the Sustainability Committee at the Elks Club.
Great. Can you tell me about your interest in applying for a Board of Adjustments?
Yes, I had a project, or still have a project, and it took us 8 months to get a quorum. So it seems like you're short-handed of people. And the architect suggested, why don't you try for it? And I said, okay, great. So that's why I'm here. It's like it'd be nice for everybody to show up at a meeting, and I'm pretty reliable in doing that, so.
Great, that's a very straightforward story, thanks. Any questions from this side of the room?
Sure. Thanks, Tori, for applying. Appreciate it. Nice to see you. As you probably know, most of the work that comes in front of Board of Adjustments is sort of variances from stated requirements in the building code. What's your ability to read building plans and understand building code language?
So I think I'm pretty good at that. I was married to a developer in California, and we did a lot of neighborhoods and high-end housing out there. And that's sort of how we got out here. We didn't do anything here so much. And then I got involved in doing remodels and built one house from scratch, but otherwise it was a lot of remodels. So, and I would bring in, back in the day, I'd bring in my own plans hand-drawn by myself. So things have changed quite a bit, as I know. And so I do have some experience.
Perfect. Thank you. That's it for me.
I think you're more than qualified. I appreciate you stepping up to make sure this board can meet with a quorum, so.
Yeah, thanks.
Christine, any questions from you?
No, thanks for applying and being a problem solver.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tori.
Thanks, Tori.
Thank you.
I see Diane Wislich is online, so we can do her interview for the animal shelter now. Diane, are you unmuted? Can you hear us?
Experience.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think you're more than qualified. I appreciate you stepping up to make sure this board can meet with a quorum.
Get to hear it a second time.
Christine, any questions from you?
No, thanks for applying and being a problem solver.
That is so weird.
Don't know what that's about.
Thank you.
I see Diane Wislich is online, so. All right, we can cancel that. Moving on, we'll go on to the Grants Committee. First up is Tracy Anderson reapplying.
Hi, good to see everybody.
Hey, Tracy.
Yeah, thanks for letting me visit with you this evening.
Oh, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Tell us about all the success that you've helped accomplish on the Grants Committee.
It's been a busy 2 years, but I've had the privilege of serving with the grants program for 4 years, 2 years as a reviewer and 2 years on the steering committee. This year, I just think some really benchmark successes have been made. I'm following council direction and listening to community feedback, which I think is so special about this program, but implementing the 2-year grant program in arts and culture, the mini grant program has been amazing, and taking a step with geographical criteria for this year's program. I think that those changes to the program have deepened the impact of the program and really strengthened the investment of municipal dollars and that the city puts forward in our community. So that was really exciting to see the outcomes of those changes to the process this year.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Questions?
After going through the grants process, are there any changes that you'd like to see made? Because obviously it's gotten a lot better, but it's not perfect. But is that only thing that to make it perfect, more money into the program, or are there anything else that you'd like to see?
I'm a deep believer in evaluation, so I am really excited to move forward with the team to really assessing the impacts of what we saw as a part of this year's process to inform possible changes moving forward. I do think that the mini grants program, I'm really eager to hear from our recipients of those dollars, just to see that a less competitive process, but still based in rigor, that folks who are applying have really good work ahead of them, but just to see how we can maybe scale some of that moving forward. But again, the strength of this program, I also want to say, in addition to it being community informed and community led, is the leadership that John and Ariel bring to this work. They are tremendous leaders and really bring the committee together, and we all learn from one another and have good dialogue. And so I just think to see what's next based on evaluation.
Well, wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Tracy, for reapplying and for your service and all the progress that you guys have made. I really appreciate it, and I think it's a great step in the right direction. Only for the sake of asking a question, is there overlap in your professional role that's a good thing, a bad thing, a problematic thing at all?
That's a really good question. So in my other life, I work for Aspen Community Foundation, and so I'm very mindful of the hats that I show up with when I come to meetings here. As I shared in my statement of this application, is that I feel that my work with this committee has helped me have a deeper understanding of our nonprofit organizations and the needs and opportunities in community. And I also feel like the lens that I have in my day job with Aspen Community Foundation brings that same knowledge to the work moving forward. But again, I am really mindful of the role that I play when I am on this committee. If there is a place where I feel uncomfortable or that it feels like a conflict, I recuse myself from those situations. So that integrity of my role and of this process of, being on this committee, I hold that very seriously.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Christine?
So thank you for reapplying and thank you for all the work that you've done on this board. I think we've all seen and heard a lot of good feedback on this most recent round.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And I'll just say, without tipping my hand, I think you're an incredible fit on this committee, so thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate the consideration.
Thanks. All right, next up is Jane Pargeter. So it's been a couple different ways in the paper, and yeah.
I know,
Back
they
and
corrected
forth.
it
I
eventually.
almost forgot.
Jane Pargeter, I've lived here 37 years. I came across this grants program in the newspaper last year and did not realize that all nonprofits could apply. And so I run a nonprofit called EcoFlight in the Valley, and I serve on the board of two other nonprofits, Aspen Hall of Fame, which is very small, and we have one objective, which is throwing the gala, and Aspen Journalism, which provides pretty good resource for this valley. So we do not have a development director at EcoFlight, and I'm a self-taught grant writer, and we've been quite successful. I've taught all my staff how to do this. We're funded by some of the really big foundations in the country. We have a small budget, but I've learned a lot about this, and I was just so excited when we applied just for the mini program of the grants program, and to see the diversity in this room of all the nonprofits applying, and some I'd never heard of, and that not only does it keep them sustainable, but that it really reaches across the wider breadth of the community. So I applied. I know very little about this. It's only my second time sitting in this room because I thought I know a fair bit about grants. I'm not an expert like Tracy in any stretch of the imagination, but I thought I could bring something to the program and recuse myself if any of my nonprofits were involved.
Well, that answers the question I had, so any questions over here?
Jane, thank you. I think just for me, you already answered about recusal, but only twice in the room, but you obviously have seen the grants committee and you've seen the grants that we've given out. Do you have any critiques or improvements or refinements that you've noticed from the process, especially as an applicant?
Well, the mini grant was easy. It was very simple, and we were advised to apply for it as a first-time application. So the process for the longer one looked relatively simple as well. I don't know enough about all of these proposals and how they're reviewed, et cetera. It would be a learning curve for me, for sure. But I like to give back, and being in the nonprofit world, and both my daughters work in nonprofits, it's kind of where I'm at. So, and I like the sustainability part of it as well.
Wonderful. That's all I need to know. Thank you so much.
I don't think I have anything other than to say thank you for applying. Appreciate it.
Christine?
Nope, thank you for applying as well.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
So both of your daughters are working for nonprofits?
Yeah, not in the Valley, though.
Right. One's in
But
Seattle.
one of them, one's in Seattle. She is the operations director of an organization called Seattle Jazz Ed that provides jazz from preschool through college. And the other one is a social worker now, Tamsin, on the Olympic Peninsula,
Awesome.
working for a nonprofit for child abuse.
Nice that they're close together.
Yeah,
All right, thanks, Jane.
thank you.
And next up is Mark Pearson.
Thank you.
Hey, Mark.
Hi.
Introduce yourself for the audience.
I'm Mark Pearson. I've been in Aspen about 38 years, been in banking most of it. My wife and I have been married 40 years. We have 3 children, all 3 born here. They are now 31, 28, and 25. Have absolutely loved the community for 38 years. As you see from my resume, I've volunteered a lot and been on a lot of boards and nonprofits. And this is my first time to consider applying and being on a board, but feel kind of called just to learn the process more, maybe contribute to it if chosen. But just have always had a heart for giving and love our community and love the nonprofits of our community. So this was the board I chose to go for the first round.
I guess if you ended up not getting on this committee, would you be willing to apply for a different board?
I would. Yeah, I just, again, getting started in this, I'm to the point in life, and we all know life ebbs and flows. I'm getting to the point that I would really like to give back.
That's a great answer. Any questions from?
Sure. Thanks, Mark, for your application, and super happy to see your name up here. Could you talk about how your banking experience might be an asset to your work on the grants committee?
Yeah, I actually wrote down, I was looking at my notes, with my financial background and analyzing organizations and their finances, both nonprofit and for-profit. I feel like that understanding might be able to contribute to some decisions and just how the grants can impact and where the needs might be in that respect. But
and do you do a lot of lending with local nonprofits? Do we need to be concerned about a lot of overlap there, and not really?
not really. And as you see on my resume, so many of the nonprofits I've been involved with, that is in the past, not that involved in that many right now. Those are good questions. Lending to nonprofits. They usually, most of the, I don't recall other than a few real estate acquisitions for nonprofits that we help finance. I think most of our nonprofits are smart enough and live within their budgets that are obtained, of course, through grants, donations, and fundraising.
Great. And John, this is a question for you. In at least in the full grant process, do the applicants provide some insight to their financials? And could Mark's experience and insight be valuable there in assessing those?
John Burke, Strategy and Innovation Director. Yes, definitely. So we do, typically that's a staff review that we do with our finance team before before any volunteers see the applications, to make sure that organizations are financially healthy enough to receive a grant at a reasonable risk to the city. But that could absolutely use some outside volunteer community review.
Perfect. Thank you so much, John, and thanks, Mark.
That's a similar question to Jane as far as just having gone through the grants process recently. Is there anything you'd like to see different about it? Any critiques, any improvements, any compliments towards what you've seen?
I do not have the ability to add to that yet.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask. Thank you so much for applying.
Sure.
Christine, any questions from you?
Nope, thank you.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be in touch.
Thanks.
Should we give Diane Weslich a try again?
Wait, Hugh.
She's trying to get on and she can't.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I was not able to log in and have been texting Tracy. So I am at least on the call, and you can hear me.
No need to apologize. These things happen. Welcome to our meeting, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I am a retired vice president of sales and marketing, and I moved to Aspen in 2018. I've been on the animal shelter board for 3 years and have loved my time there, and I would love to continue participating in the community, and would be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Any questions?
I guess mine would be a request for you to tell us a little bit about what's been going on at the Animal Shelter Board meetings and how you feel things are going, what's being accomplished that you'd like accomplished, what isn't.
A lot of the meetings are overviews of a lot of the fundraisers of what's going on in the community. They are very informative and focused a lot on fundraising. Personally, I would like just to see a little bit more involvement from our board in actionable items, like maybe volunteering time a little bit more with Seth at the actual shelter, and being a little bit more involved than we are, rather than just having the 2 meetings throughout the year, and getting an overview of things. So I think we could participate a little bit more in an actionable way.
So what are you doing other than just listening to a report?
Honestly, a lot of it is devoting your time to the fundraisers throughout the year, volunteering.
Pete, who's the staff member in charge of this board?
Jenna? Gordon? Yeah.
Yep. So me personally, I've kind of taken it, volunteered and taken it a little bit step further, where I do the meeting minutes and the actionable items and recap the notes from the meetings that have taken place and then in the future. So that's my personal participation in the board.
Thanks, Diane, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your volunteerism and your help with fundraising, but my hope is that this is an advisory board that helps make decisions in the best interest of the community, and it's concerning to me, and I'm only sharing this with you because I want everyone else to hear it too. Mm-hmm. I'm not accusing you of anything at all, to be clear. Mm-hmm. But it's concerning to me that you're not being presented with decisions to make and advice to give. That's the whole point of this board, in my opinion. So,
yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think that there's a lot of talented people that are on our board and have diverse backgrounds in Aspen and outside of Aspen from a work history perspective, and think that we could be a lot more value added. Like myself with a sales and marketing and advertising background, I could definitely do more from helping to get the word out from the fundraisers for like the Ruby Run and the summer event. So there's a lot more that could be done from the board. I agree with you.
Perfect. Thank you for reapplying. Thank you for that insight. I have no more questions for you, but Pete, I'd love to dig into this a little bit further and understand why they're not being used in an advisory and decision-making capacity.
Yeah, I think I need to follow up with Jenna and with Seth both, and just have a conversation here a little bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah, with that, I was just looking at the purpose and policy, and it is meant for what you were stating, Bill, as far as being a recommendation board to talk about budget and how the animal shelter runs. And Diane, I don't have any further questions. I appreciate you reapplying. And I also appreciate your resume for all the cheese making that you do. I think it's...
That was a retired hobby, and I wish I could keep doing it. But unfortunately, I chose a very expensive place to retire. So it's a passion.
It's wonderful. So thank you.
No.
That struck me too. Cheesemonger and animal shelter person. It really gets me right here.
Animals are, they bring me a lot of joy, so.
Thanks for your patience with the technology. Really glad that we got to interview you tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, and sorry for the delay. I spent 45 minutes trying to fix it on my own and was starting to have a little bit of a panic, so I felt bad about it.
Again, no need to apologize. Sorry you had to go through that. Okay, next up is, I guess we'll go to Local Licensing Authority. Hunter Galvin is in the room.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Hunter. Go ahead and introduce yourself to our Grassroots TV audience.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hunter Galvin. I've lived in Aspen since 2016. I'm a project manager, and I bartend in Aspen as well.
Great. Thanks for applying. I know we need somebody on the Local Licensing Authority as soon as possible. Questions from this side of the table?
Yeah. What's your interest in the local licensing authority, and is it from your bartending and what you've seen through that, or nothing to do with that and you're just interested in it?
I think it's definitely from being a part of the restaurant community. When I applied last time, it was so interesting how many people were retirees or who had never even checked an ID. And I would just love to see a little bit more representation, or someone who's dealt with those laws.
Wonderful. Thank you for applying.
Hunter, thank you for applying. Are there any sort of practices of both the liquor and cannabis licensing and administration in Aspen that, to the extent you're able, that isn't governed by state law, you'd like to see changed, evolved, enhanced, modified in any way? Have you thought about that?
Not necessarily, but I think in my time in Aspen, I've seen less and less opportunity for businesses to go into either of those venues. So hopefully, as time goes, I'll see more people applying for those licenses and more locals going for it and those opportunities, and I'll be able to weigh in on it.
And what's your, I understand why you've chosen to apply for this board, but what's your interest in serving on this board?
Amos Underwood reached out. He's the chair. He knows that I've wanted to be involved in something in Aspen for a really long time. My friends and I do a lot of community things. You'll always see us volunteering. We're always at airport triennials. We're always at city events. But I think that this is one of the few things that I can actually be a part of, that I know, that I've experienced, that I can have an opinion on that's very valid. Yeah.
That's helpful, thank you. And last question, this is a purely hypothetical situation, but let's say a case came before you with, about a relicensing of a, we'll just say, alcohol serving establishment, liquor license, from someone you knew, someone you're familiar with, and there were reasons it was being brought in front of you, right? There was some sort of issues that may have happened in the past. Do you think you could make an impartial decision because you knew them and you were friends with them? And do you think that you could say no if you thought it was in the best interest of the community?
I think absolutely that there's no problem for me with making the right decision within that. I think that as someone who makes their money in that industry, bartending, if you have multiple infractions at your business, then there's a problem in how you're training your staff. There is a problem in how you're running it, and that affects all of us and the full industry across the board.
Thank you so much.
All right, Christine, any questions?
Nope, thank you for applying.
All right, Hunter, thanks for coming back and applying
Awesome.
again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, last but not least, we've got Planning and Zoning. Tom Gorman's up first.
Hi, everybody. Tom Gorman, Aspen resident, reapplying for Planning and Zoning.
Terrific. And what is it that you really like about Planning and Zoning that makes you want to reapply?
Good question. It's consequential work. Aspen is a small town, geographically constricted. There is, relative to the size and population, there's a lot going on. There are complex problems that need to be solved. The Title 26 is a significant and complex set of rules, and I enjoy the process by which rules are navigated, and hope that I can contribute to a positive outcome in the town's development.
Great. Questions from the side of the table?
Tom, no questions. It was fun serving with you on P&Z back in the day, and I'm glad you're reapplying. It's good to see you.
You finished? Yeah. Thank you, Tom, for your service and for reapplying. You may have heard me say this or sort of dig into this in our joint meeting, but I struggle with the position that some or all members of P&Z have taken up, that your role is only to interpret the black and white of the code and not to look for the color and find what's in the best interest of the community and in the applicants and the neighbors and things like that. Could you talk to me about your feelings on what I'm struggling with there?
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about your specifics, but I would say that within the corpus of the code, there are inevitable conflicts. As for instance, Aspen has a, as you know, 40% threshold for demolition. We have encountered projects recently in which the applicants could not simultaneously avoid 40% and still reduce enough square footage to get compliant. So there are situations where we have to navigate just conflicts, decide what's more important in a given situation. And that can include neighborhood context, it can include design intent, it can include historic significance, any number of other factors. I think that's one of the things that makes the job interesting.
I agree with you, but I guess let me be more explicit in my question. Do you believe that if the code is explicit on a given circumstance, that there's no room for not interpretation, not the right term, but no room for deviation if you think the circumstances warrant it and it's the right decision? Or do you think that your job is only to interpret the code black and white when there isn't a conflict, I should say?
Okay. Well, recently we have had a series of cases in which the Title 26 has a strict definition, a threshold of not allowing demolition unless there's an actual hardship that would be imposed on a property owner. And there are times when, if you were to read that code literally, no development could happen because the building is not falling down yet. So we sometimes have to interpret what's the best interest, how can we avoid a demolition if possible, or what will move the community value forward, even if that definition of economic hardship is not strictly met.
Thank you.
All right, Christine, any questions or comments from you?
Thank you for reapplying, Tom, and I'm sorry I missed the meeting that we had, joint meeting with planning and zoning. I'm sure some of these conversation topics were covered there, so
well,
thanks for your work.
Thank you, Christine. Great to hear your voice.
You too.
All right, Tom, thanks for reapplying and showing up in person. Thanks.
Thank you all.
All right, next up, Mary Ann Pitt.
Nice to see everybody again. Mary Ann Pitt. I've been on planning and zoning for 4 years and looking to reapply. Thanks for everything you guys are doing, and I'm really grateful for our recent meeting. It felt like it took 1.5 years to get that on the docket again since COVID, but I'm glad that through some perseverance and persistence, we were able to have that meeting, and it seems going forward, Mayor Richardson is open to more continual communication as well that I think would really assist with the collaboration and ensure that everything in the city is really moving in the same trajectory from your end and from ours as well. So, yeah, I'm guessing that I'm going to get some similar questions as well, but I can either step into them, Bill, or I can let you guys start the ball.
Yeah, if you heard my question,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
To address that. I was going to ask you
so I think, even just kind of breaking down what the committee is, it's planning and zoning. And some of, I think, one way that I've been a little challenged in the past, I guess, with that notion is essentially we are receiving a packet. And once we've received this packet, obviously we are working off of, Title 26, Aspen Area Community Plan that's really based out of 2012 still, and some things that potentially need some updates. We have, a gauge between, nobody could give us a direct answer from the city per se, but 24 to 26 zoning ordinances as well. And I think within a culmination of all of those things in mind, just a super easy example would be the Burlingame, early education school that came before us in the past year. That one was a little challenging for me personally. It felt like we were receiving this project, and if really planning is part of our process, by the time it received, our eyeballs, it was already planned to some degree. And so I think within that, I asked some questions about future potential for growth within that school. Could we expand, et cetera, et cetera. And every answer was basically, this is the plot of land we've been assigned, and this is where we're working from. And in that notion, it did seem if there was population advancement down the track, considering that we were already looking at a 10-year vested rights option just specific to that, which, the board basically tried to shorten to 3 to 5 years, that could be problematic. And it felt somewhat short-sighted. If there was a potential other plot of land that could have been looked at co-consecutively to see if something else might make sense in terms of growth. I think part of the thing that I keep seeing is that we have these projects coming before us with housing, affordable housing, et cetera. And it seems like sometimes instead of thinking 30, 50 years down the track, we're really only kind of gauging it off of like more immediate needs. And I think from that perspective, I would love to have, more authority and notion to, we spend a great deal of time looking at these projects, AMS, Institute, physics, that we spent, at least 3 meetings. And most of those 3 meetings only talked about transportation. And so I think that, we want to be smart, methodical, strategic, long-term. And sometimes I wish that part of our opportunity would also to be thinking about those things and really like, is this actually the best, space for this piece of property to be built? And if so, why? And really go into the depth of what that looks like.
How do you end up voting on that childcare?
On the education, we certainly need the education, so I voted yes. Okay. Even though I was a little torn, to be fair. And if there were more opportunity to have a little bit more say, I think, on that notion, I potentially would have asked to swap to another plot of land, potentially.
I'm struggling with why you don't think you have the opportunity to have that say. And I think that's where I'm struggling with this entire board, is like, your vote is one thing and these instructions are the other thing, but really what I think you're there for is for what feels right in your gut and what feels right to you for this community. And I think that the instructions that some or all of you have been given are incorrect. And I think that you should voice your opinion. You should vote with conviction on how you feel about something. that's not really part of this interview, but that's how I feel.
Sure. And I think to that point, Mr. Guth, as well, I would suggest almost coming from, council, that potentially that might be something that you need to say to our board and, to our chairperson as well, because it does seem at times that occasionally people tend to see what's going on before they're obviously going to a vote, and potentially people might get swayed because they don't want to misstep in that process.
Thanks. I'm good on questions.
Just a comment for you based off that, just saying we appreciate your work on the board, and I personally appreciate your hesitations and limitations, even if you do vote yes on something, to say what your qualms were. They definitely resonate with me, especially as we as a council address those. Other than that, Maza, I appreciate you reapplying and easy yes. So.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, every planning and zoning thing that's in our packet we read, I read with great interest to see who said what and who objected to what and who supported what. So really appreciate you reapplying. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, John. Does Christine have anything? Hi, Christine.
Christine.
Thanks for asking, and thanks for reapplying. And I don't have any other questions either.
Sure. We miss you.
Yeah, good to see you.
But we're glad you're moving on. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
All right, that's it for board and commission interviews. Next up is the Armory Hall Adaptive Reuse Project update.
Oh, that's why I couldn't find Hunter's thing. Don't be sitting right here in front of me the whole time.
Control F wasn't working for me.
Sorry, I had this open and it closed, so I need to reopen it. Am I connected? So you sent me a link. Okay, thank you. All right, sorry about that. My name's Jen Phelan, and I'm the development manager for the asset department. We'll be talking about Armory Hall and where we are with the project currently. It's just a council update this evening. At the table, you have Rob Schober, the asset director, and Ben Levinson, the senior project manager in the department, and we also have a representative, Simon Elliott from CCY this evening, in case there's any questions. All right. So this afternoon, we'll be talking about the status of Armory Hall. We are moving forward with a historic preservation application to lift the building and a couple other design changes to the project. We'll talk about the budget and upcoming council actions that we'll be bringing to you. We'll give you an update on the status of the building permit and construction readiness. We'll also talk about operations, the operator for the building, and where we're going forward with that, and then we'll leave room for discussion. So with regard to the current status of the building lift and the historic preservation review, to construct a new foundation for the Armory, and to also deepen the basement, we've determined that lifting the building is the best way to replace the foundation. We've hired Wolf Home Building and Movers, a national company, to handle the lift of the building. And they've submitted complete engineering on structurals for lifting the building to the Historic Preservation Officer as part of a land use application. We also have done shoring of the site to get that ready and submitted that also. That'll be reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission. We have a hearing scheduled next week, May 13th, and at that meeting, the board will be looking at how we are proposing to lift the building 5 feet vertically in the air to install that new foundation and deepen the basement. By lifting the building, we will shorten the overall construction timeline. It'll reduce impacts to the neighborhood, as well as local events such as the farmers market. And it will also provide for a better foundation, doing a complete monolithic pour rather than sections if you were to underpin the building. Lifting is considered a relocation in the land use code under the historic preservation chapter. And so it'll be reviewed by the board, as well as we have a couple other items on that. Besides the building lift and the increased depth for the basement, we will be finalizing the Connor Park stage structure and materials. We'll be reviewing some design modifications to G Street. So we actually ended up with the lift of the building needing to take out the trees. And so we've been working with the Parks Department to come up with a design that better meets what they'd prefer to see, and to also meet engineering design standards. So on Galena Street, we're proposing an 8-foot sidewalk, a pedestrian bulb out on the corner, and basically a hardscape similar to a lot of downtown Aspen.
Can I dig in on that a little bit, John? Or you want to-
Absolutely.
Thanks. Can we flip back to the lift
Sure.
stuff? Thanks, Jen, for all your efforts on this and for the presentation. I've lifted a lot of houses, so I'm familiar with sort of the basics of this and comfortable with it. But I wanted to make sure we all had a gut check here. Has anyone said we're insane to try to lift this building, or that we don't know how we're going to do it, or why would you ever try to do this, or anything like that? Are you getting any of that kind of?
I wouldn't say anyone has said we're insane. The company we've hired is a national company that has lifted hundreds to thousands of buildings, some more complex than the Armory. This is probably a first for the community as far as a downtown brick structure of this size. We have done extensive engineering. We also have a second engineer on board. We've done to actually look and make sure that any bracing, anything that comes up can be handled. And they actually did an evaluation of the brick earlier last year. So is it a new one for Aspen? Yes. Is it new for other areas throughout the country and internationally? No.
Is it new for our contractor on this? This type of building and similar structures?
I don't know about Shaw.
Not Shaw, I'm talking about Wolf, sorry. No.
That's
no.
all they do. They specialize in
But
it.
buildings like this, they haven't just done small Victorian homes or
No.
something like that, right? They're comfortable with this.
And
We have a means and methods, it sounds like, of how we're gonna execute upon it.
Yeah, and to be clear, the move to lift the building is being driven by the structural engineers. It's not being driven by what we're doing with the foundation, the fact that we're going deeper, or the contractor. Looking at the brick, the condition of the mortar is in, and how the load paths work through that building, they think lifting is the safest way to get this done. So that's why we're heading in that direction.
Great, very satisfied with those answers, thanks.
To consider also is this is a vertical lift. And so the building is designed to handle basically vertical loads throughout, and it's not moving laterally, which is something that happens in a lot of other, I'd say, residential projects throughout town where the building gets relocated on the lot, new foundation and basement put in and then relocated. And so buildings, particularly older buildings, aren't necessarily designed to handle the lateral loads as well as vertical.
The way they would explain this to you is that 5 feet in the air, the building has it's the loads through the building, the way it's the same exact as sitting on the ground by the way we're doing it. It's basically they grout in a new foundation under the building and it goes up.
Perfect. All I needed was a gut check. Thank you.
Okay. Move on.
Please.
All right. With regard to the budget and upcoming council actions, staff has received an initial guaranteed maximum price from the contractor. It's currently under review. We are planning on presenting that in June. That's our target. The one thing to mention at this point in time is the project remains within the previously presented budget. So it was pretty close, actually a little bit under, but we are still digging into those numbers and we'll have questions for the contractor to clarify. Once we have a final GMP ready for approval, we'll bring that to council, and we also want to piggyback on that with some other contracts. We'll be looking at having CCY, a change order for CCY architects for construction administration throughout the project, because we contracted with them through construction documents. We also will be looking to extend the contract for additional phases of construction for the construction manager as advisor. So we contracted with them for pre-construction services solely, and we'll like to add on additional phases of construction.
Go ahead, Bill.
Jen, on the GMP, is that for the full fit out or is that for the core and shell? I know we had approved sort of doing the full fit out strategy, but I want to make sure the pricing aligns with that.
That is for finish.
Through finishes, yeah, it's all of it.
Thank you. And equipment, like even the cooking equipment, that's what you're talking about? Wow, great. That'll be helpful to have that full question. Thank you.
So with regard to when this will have a shovel in the ground, with regard to the building permit, a building permit was submitted in December 2025. First round of comments have been issued and responses are underway. And we are anticipating that it will be a phased permit that is issued so that we can get started in a timely manner. With regard to getting the site ready for construction, we have departments vacating the building probably by the first week of June. We already have certain departments out. The Parks Department moved out recently. ACRA is starting to pack up so that they'll be out at the end of the month. Associated projects to get the site ready. IT has fiber running into the building, so we are actually started relocation disconnection of the fiber by, we're basically going to be rerouting it so that the project, the rehabilitation of the Armory can happen. And we have some minor asbestos remediation that we need to do in June. Not much, so that was a good surprise on our end. And we are assuming Shaw will start site control. They're targeting late June, early July for the project.
And Jen, what's our estimate at this point in time for the total construction duration?
28 months.
Thank you.
And the raising of the Armory, so that'll take place in late summer?
So there's a lot of preparation to actually get to a point where you can lift the building. The super does want the building lifted basically in October before the weather gets
Worse,
Yeah, exactly.
ideally.
So
Why do we have bad weather in Aspen? Didn't
we
this year.
used to.
Wish we could have been working on it all winter.
Can you talk about how this might affect the farmers market this summer?
I actually have a meeting set up later this week to talk about the farmers
Okay.
market. So it's
Okay.
been a while since we've talked about the farmers market, but what we've been looking at is of some of the stalls along Hopkins won't be in place. And we need to do some relocation with some of the amenities, I guess, bathroom, things like that. So we're still working through it.
TBD. Okay.
But there's just going to be some less vendor space in front of Hopkins.
Well, I think someone had told me that all the food in Connor Park is going to be definitely moved, and anyone Connor Park related.
I mean,
is,
once the
yeah.
park is closed,
Definitely.
they'll need to do something different with the vendors.
Okay. More to
Could it, I know that this is not an easy answer, this is something to think about and explore during your meeting, but does it make more sense to, instead of continue to work on that block of Hopkins, to move it one block east on Hopkins and have more of a S than a U?
I think it was with possibly next summer, but I think with some of the steps that would need to be taken to actually expand the footprint, it didn't make sense this season.
Okay, something to think about, because I think I'd rather see something different but vibrant and successful than something the same that was half-baked.
And we've had the conversation of no construction on Saturdays so that at the very least there won't be any impact for other vendors on Hopkins. But it's good to get this feedback as I continue to work with other departments that handle the farmers market.
Okay, but even on that comment of no construction on Saturdays, like, I'd rather see the construction duration shortened by taking advantage of those Saturdays and moving the farmer's market a block than doing the same old thing and trying to make everyone happy.
Understood.
I know you're not in charge of the farmer's market,
Yeah.
but in your meeting with them.
No, it's good feedback.
Yeah.
All right.
One more question from me.
Okay.
So just to be clear, the 28-month timeline, is that from when the building is lifted, or?
28 month is when Shaw is starting work on site.
So that's like June? Okay. All right, thanks. Any questions from you, Christine, before we move on?
Just more broadly, what will besides the farmers market, are there wider traffic impacts or anything on the streets?
Yes, we've moved WeCycle. It's been moved onto Galena instead of Hopkins. It's there now in front of the rectory of St. Mary's. And then the parking along Galena and along Hopkins up to the end of the park will be taken over for construction.
Okay, thanks, but no traffic diversions or any added one-ways or anything, yeah. Okay, thanks.
No. There might be some issues where there might be some traffic control depending on an actual, specific impact of a phase of construction, but it would be finite.
All right, thanks.
Okay. And so for a future operator for this project, we sent out an RFQ last fall, late fall. We received 6 submissions of interest. I've been keeping up with updates on the project to those people interested in the in moving forward every 2 months, just to keep them informed of where we are with the project. We plan on a formal RFP to be issued once we have a confirmed start date. And we are obviously interested in securing a qualified operator that we think will get better responses once we have stronger certainty on when the project will be delivered. So we're looking at probably July for an RFP to be issued for an operator.
Jen, are we being as proactive as we're able to be on this? I should say, are you being as proactive as you're able to be on this? I'm a little concerned that people who may have participated in the first round of our RFPs for the design that may have partnered with operators and things like that are not participating now because they didn't get that. But I want to make sure that they are encouraged to the maximum extent possible to participate, so that we're not missing any great operator candidates.
I did reach out to anyone who had submitted that very first time that we issued an RFP, and did send emails to those people to let them know about the RFQ. I will be happy to do that again once the RFP is. I want as many people to respond as possible, so I will take any feedback, any suggestions to be as comprehensive as possible.
Great. My only request / suggestion would be, in addition to the people from that very first operator RFP, we also proactively reach out to any operators that were paired with design teams as part of the design RFP process. Thanks.
So I have, just if you have questions to discuss, but I thought you might want to see these renderings a little bit clearer, because this is a transparent rendering. So I was going to show you those because I think they're looking great. So this is a rendering of.
Sorry?
Christine's got her hand up.
Oh, sorry. Christine, you have a question?
I do. Just in follow-up to Bill's question, is 6, were you happy with that number? I mean, is there an average, or like where does that sit on the spectrum, or is there one?
So this is a bit new territory for me. So I just don't know what the expectation would be. I was happy in the interest. I'm hoping that we would get more interest once a formal RFP is issued.
Okay, thanks.
So this is the community hall in the lower level.
Former council chambers.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question on the RFP, RFQ?
Sure.
Is that okay right now, John?
Absolutely.
Great rendering, by the way.
Beautiful.
Do you have a budget for proactively advertising and reaching out to potential candidates to respond to the RFP, or can we give you one of those? I don't want to just like put this up on BidNet or whatever it is that we use and wait for responses. I want like anyone in our region who is in this business to at least know about it and be encouraged to submit a proposal. That'd be my goal. So I don't know if 6 is the number that we end up with or not, but I just want to know that we have like really tried as hard as we possibly can to make sure that we get really great operators at least knowing about this and getting every best-in-class operator that we possibly can to submit if they're interested.
I'll work on that.
Okay, so do you have the money, or do you need the money?
I mean, we have a decent budget.
Yeah, we can use project budget to do that. And I think to reiterate is like being able to say, we broke ground, the project will be over and be delivered on this date is a huge, I mean, that's what you need to be able to explain to these operators and get interest.
I think you're right.
So, you know, and previously it was a bit like, oh, well, I don't know, we're hoping, you know, X date and, you know, 2 years construction. So having that finite timeline, I think, is going to for sure drive more interest. But for sure, we want to make sure that we get eyes on it. And, you know, hopefully get the best folks we can.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll get more interest, and I agree with you there. I was hopeful at one point in time that we'd have an experienced operator who was going to live and die by this project, giving their input in the design process. But I think if we get someone on board sooner rather than later, there's still an opportunity for some changes that may be critical to them to be implemented. But I want to make sure we find that right person or people.
I'm just going to run through these. So this is the main level, one of the perspectives. We also have another one.
Can you back up one slide?
Yep.
Is that the back wall that's on?
That is Hopkins. Yes.
Okay.
That is the lunch counter. That hopefully will have some morning activity, but also provide some limited beverage service also.
Thanks.
And then I have one more. And this is the upper level.
What happened to the mine shaft?
I noticed that. I haven't had that conversation. I'm guessing it got a little more complicated than it.
It was a great idea.
It's still there. It just isn't showing up quite in the rendering.
Cool. I thought that was a great concept, and I hope we can find a way to make that work.
Just one comment, kudos on the aesthetics. Like, this is very fitting for, I think, the concept and for our town, and I'm very excited about it, and I appreciate your hard work and creativity on it.
Carbondale has town line trucks. We've got an Armory.
All set? Anything else?
No, great presentation. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Rob. And next up is Golf Clubhouse Area Facilities Master Plan.
So where to connect to Zoom? Do you have Zoom installed?
I do, yes. Good evening.
while they're getting hooked up, I guess I can go ahead and introduce our project. My name is Jim Pratt, General Manager of the Aspen Golf Club. We have David Poppleton here from DTJ, as well as Greg White. We also have Scott Chisholm over here from the City of Aspen, and Austin Weiss, our ADT representative. To kind of just remind you a little bit about the golf course master plan. The golf course master plan has been in process for a few years. We began the process with business plan in 2025. The business plan kind of gave a deep dive into potential revenue sources for the Aspen Golf Club, as long as some deficiencies in just a deep dive evaluation of the current clubhouse area. So when we're talking about this project, it's not specifically just to the clubhouse. Within this slideshow, we'll show you what that entirely entails for the entire property. Our goal tonight is not to try to convince of any direction. Actually, it's quite the opposite. We're actually presenting you with information that we've received through surveys. We had an open house. We just would like to get some direction from council on what their thoughts are on the direction of the location. So that way, hopefully, we can take those ideas with DTJ here, and they can do the next step in the design phase. The presentation that we have for you is about 10-15 minutes long. Go through this presentation, and then at the completion of the presentation, we definitely have a Q&A point there where we can kind of just talk through your ideas and kind of go into more detail of what we've heard. So again, David Poppleton from DTJ, Greg White. We can go to the next slide.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for killing time while we get everything set up. That looked like we practiced that, so.
One of the things that we've certainly found out, well, we've always known, but the survey, we had roughly 534 respondents to the survey. What we're hearing from the community is that this is a community hub. That's kind of been the message loud and clear. This isn't specific to any one user group. However, we are a multi-use facility. We facilitate golf, we facilitate Nordic, we facilitate tennis. We have a huge amount of community members who just enjoy the open space that the property is and just enjoy on a daily basis, as well as the restaurant. So when we began this when we received data back, surprisingly and overwhelmingly, the people that voiced or that replied to the survey the most was actually people that use the clubhouse area for dining and just general use rather than any particular user group. This is kind of just an overview of everyone who's been involved with this project thus far. We have DTJ, we have our internal involvement. The facility is going to be, or the golf course will be impacted should we choose to, just depending on the direction that we choose to go. So we're including Rick Phelps, who is our contracted golf course designer. He's been with this golf course for a number of years. Roaring Fork Engineering, RTM. There's a bunch of different moving parts to help us get to where we're at right now. Stakeholders, we obviously have our design team, our leaseholders, who have definitely kind of given us their perspective from a daily operations perspective. Obviously, our leadership and department heads, and most importantly, the general public.
All right, so can you guys hear me okay? Okay. The preliminary project goals, this really started with what was put out in the RFP. It's been enhanced, it's been tweaked as we've learned more. So they're not the same goals, but they're pretty consistent. The big thing that Jim already talked about was we're really finding that this is a community, it's really a community facility. And it's not just golfers, and it's not just Nordic, and it's not just tennis. So it's become a little bit bigger thing than we thought about as far as who does it need to serve and how does it fit in with Aspen's long-term plans. Because we can't just isolate it to one user group or one department. Other things that just kind of jumped out as us is improving the overall user experience, really wanting to create operational efficiency so that it works better long term. Are there new revenue generating opportunities? When you invest money into it, can we get money out of it? One of the big things for Aspen is energy efficiency.
So moving the facility in that direction, helping Jim and his team provide an experience for all of the users in a more efficient way. And is there other things that it can offer? Can it become a bigger piece? Is there another use that it could be kind of fold in on that campus? So we are at the very beginning. We've kind of broken this master plan into 4 phases. Right now we're in discovering and listening. Discovering and listening has been a little bit longer than we thought as we continue to kind of unpack the different user groups and the different kind of meetings and what we've been hearing. So we are at nearing the end. You guys are the kind of the last group that we really want to hear from your vision, how this fits into the overall plans for the city. So that's where we are today. After this, we go and we get to do what we really like to do, which is start designing. So just for context, most people are aware, but this is kind of looking at the 10,000-foot view of the course and where this campus fits within that. Zooming in just a little bit more, and we'll have another slide that comes back to this, but just to set context again with what the site looks like. And then jumping into the survey. So this was really what came out of the survey. Jim's already touched on some of the data, but it's a community building. There was a strong desire to keep it affordable and accessible for all members of the community. We already touched on it's a multi-user facility. That definitely rang true with the survey. There was a strong desire to protect open space, to make this a long-term project, not 50 years I think is kind of arbitrary, but it wants to be a long-term solution, not just a Band-Aid to make it work for the next few years. And then it was also kind of rang through with the survey is that the facility's outdated, it's inefficient, the uses within it are a little bit disconnected, even though the users still really enjoy going there. The priorities that showed through, expanded restaurant and social spaces, improved golf practice facilities, outdoor gathering space. And that one was interesting because what we've been hearing about it, and a consistent theme is people want a place to go sit outside and watch the sunset. And that's kind of been a little bit of a theme as we've talked about this project is where can people go and do that? And then indoor tennis facility has also been at the top of the list as far as what the demand for what the campus can fulfill.
Before you switch off of this,
yep.
Mind if I ask a couple questions?
I don't know. Please do.
Thanks. In your opinion, or in the opinion of the feedback that you've received from your board and these survey respondents, are there elements of what we're already doing there or what you're thinking we should expand upon that if we actually eliminate, we could do a lot of other things better?
I don't know if there's much to eliminate with the use of the facility. However, yeah, I mean, we kind of know internally what would be great to expand upon. I mean, the facility is like the pro shop. The pro shop is a golf pro shop, and it's also a Nordic pro shop. So you can just imagine the headache that goes back and forth of taking, literally the pictures off the wall, the phones, everything every, 6 months. So having separate space for both Nordic and golf has been a huge one. Another one that I would say is a community space for events. If you can imagine walking into the restaurant with your family to have dinner, and then all of a sudden 72 golfers come in on top of you at the completion of a tournament because there's nowhere else for them to go. Those are the kind of things that we've heard and we've seen at the facility. Does that answer your question?
Partially, yes, and I think that's great feedback, but let's maybe even think a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to throw this as an example. I'm not saying I'm supportive of this at all. But let's say someone said to you, you could move tennis somewhere else entirely. I don't know where it would go. And again, I'm not certain. I'm not saying I'm supportive of that. But like, is there something that's that that big of an element that you've thought about? Like, if we could just get rid of this, we could do everything else so much better. Well, have you had conversations on that sort of?
Those conversations have come up. Certainly, I mean, exactly as you just referenced, the conversations on, is there another location for anything, specifically tennis? I don't have the answer to that question either. Obviously, yes, if we were able to reduce something, it just allows the other users to have more opportunity. But I think my personal opinion is tennis being a part of the golf facility is a big part of it, but there's pros and cons to both sides of it. But we have had those conversations, yes.
Okay, and another one that comes to mind is like parking.
Yeah, we are all, I mean, by technicality, we are already undersized with that parking lot by what we're supposed to have. And I'm sure DTJ will talk about this more in depth, but parking is probably one of the biggest challenges that we're seeing with this project. Is we know that we need to improve or increase the number of parking spaces. Where does that go? And the most likely scenario would be to go underground. That also has its own challenges and costs as well. So there's a lot of moving parts to this project.
Great, appreciate all those responses. I would say if you haven't talked about it already or contemplated it, I'd like you to talk about and contemplate paid parking.
Okay.
I think that could resolve a lot of the under parking concerns.
Rachel's going to be so happy you brought that up.
And I meant that you mentioned Rachel. One of Rachel's biggest comments, actually, when we kind of began this whole project, was one of her goals was to include housing or employee housing in all of these projects moving forward. So that is another thing that we're considering or thinking of in this project from council's direction as well.
Yeah, I mean, so far there's been more listening and less trying to find solutions, because we need to gather the data and understand, like, what are all the different groups want. We know for a fact that the site is constrained, that there's a lot of demand on what it wants to be, and getting your feedback is kind of helps us to start to unpack, okay, what can move, what can't move, what's critical for this place, and is there another spot for some other stuff?
I think to your question, thinking about, could we make the experience better if we had a little less things that we're trying to do there? Probably yes, but that's also balanced with what the kind of synergy of all the community needs are and how it all works together. You know, can you go play tennis and get something to eat, and is there enough things happening that it could be multi-generational or something like that? So that's a very tricky question. You know, it's hard to answer that, especially like David mentioned, we're kind of trying to hold off on a little predetermination about what we're thinking about as solutions until we really understand what are the top priorities and how do we kind of help filter through that as a team.
And another thing that's in the survey too, just to point out, is the fact that we repetitively heard year round for everyone. So like we talked about indoor tennis as a possibility. We've had, people talking about golf simulators in the wintertime. So we heard of the community telling us that they want the facility to be even more utilized year round, was another thing they told us.
That's awesome. One side note, I don't know if this changes anything for you, but I've heard that there's a golf simulator business opening up in downtown Aspen soon.
Yeah, one of our former employees.
So you know more than me, but again, I don't know if that changes your perspective on this or not. But
So just a different way to absorb the data that came out of the survey. Things that even through the open house, things that started to rise to the top. The indoor tennis facility, flexible indoor spaces. I think that's something that really would benefit the use, is to have spaces that aren't fully dedicated to one thing or another, but to have a little bit of flexibility, so that when you need a spot for kids camp, it's there, but it could be used for another use at other times.
Yeah, in like the tennis facilities, one thing that the tennis facilities needs are, there is no restroom at the tennis courts. So, that's one of the biggest things that we hear from the tennis users are, we have a big kids camp and there's no restroom over here. Or in the case of rain or inclement weather, we've actually allowed them to use our downstairs area as a place to get in and out of the rain. So they definitely need, there are needs over there. The cart barn, that cart barn storage area that we have is only large enough to house 60 golf carts. We have 72. It's uninsulated, so it's actually, in the wintertime, it's more of an ice box than the outside weather. The ground around it is settling currently, and there really is no proper drainage for washing the golf carts as there should be. So again, when we're talking about the clubhouse area, it's not just the clubhouse, it's everything in between. And I think there's ways to improve the facility as a whole.
And then things that aren't as exciting to talk about, but just need to be addressed, right? There's safety concerns with the driving range. There's some safety concerns with how the Nordic skiers actually get from the pro shop down to the ski tracks. There's safety concerns and maybe more of a like maintenance. This stuff has to get fixed at the building systems. So there's some stuff there that is kind of like it's gonna need to happen at some point in order to just maintain current functionality.
Has there been any discussion about possibly, this is kind of wild, creating more space by reconfiguring the golf course itself to, change the layout of the golf course so that there could possibly be some additional land found somewhere that we could use for something that we needed?
Within the master plan that we had, the master plan did illustrate some areas for possible maintenance areas that might be able to be utilized, but specifically to the clubhouse area, it would be challenging to move too much that's over in this location with all the other like junior golf and all the other things around there. But that was mentioned in the business plan.
Right.
And Jim, I'll just add to that. One of the ideas that has been floated is somewhat of a redesign of the practice facilities. If we, say, wanted to improve the patio in the back, the outdoor dining hangout area, could you push that out into the golf course and redesign some of that practice area, maybe move some tee box? So a little bit of that golf course architecture has been considered in some of the thoughts.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of, like the Nordic Council is thinking about where they can plant trees to make sure that snow is retained longer and kept out of the sun. And I think there's some storage issues due to seasonality access that could be improved out there at the golf course as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Continue, thanks.
So as we started to work our way through this, and we're hearing kind of the information. Three ideas started to rise to the top here. One was, do you update the facility? That really would be a minimal or no increase in size. You're getting in and you're replacing or fixing the things that need to be replaced. You're keeping the current functionality of it, and you're really just setting it up for, we're gonna maintain and operate this facility as is, more efficiently, more energy efficient in the future? Is there an option where you upgrade it, where you're actually changing or enhancing the user, the community experience? There's some additional amenities that you could provide, and there's maybe a limited return on investment there. Or is there this idea of reimagining it, where we do move something, or you decide to subterranean all the parking, think bigger things. It's a comprehensive, creative transformation of that campus that could involve a lot of different elements. Housing might be part of that. Those are some of the ideas that have thrown out. And what we really want your feedback on is, do any of those things feel more palpable to fit into the city's goals or not?
And just to kind of give you the status of the clubhouse right now, we're in the middle right now of trying to do a bunch of repairs for inefficiencies right now with the HVAC system. Scott can go into more context on that if you guys would like, but there are things that are broken within the building that have to be addressed just for normal operations to continue, which is kind of where that update mark is. But we would love to, again, hear your guys' input on what you've heard from the community and what you would like the facility to look like in the out years.
I don't think I want to hear more about sort of where you're at so far and what you're envisioning and those amenities and how they could fit together before I can give you specific feedback on that.
Okay.
Are you at the end of your presentation?
Yeah, that was all the presentation. This
Okay,
was just the
so-
Q&A where we could get to the end and kind of talk candidly and kind of get more ideas from you.
Okay.
I'm happy to go.
Go ahead.
So can we back up one slide? Yeah, right there. Having toured the facility and going out to the golf course for your presentation, I'm aware of the shortfalls that are being experienced out there. And as a Nordic skier, I'm aware of that as well. And I think it is a great restaurant that could be enhanced. So I'm between upgrade and reimagine. I think as our golf season and tennis season both get longer every year, I think this is going to be needed. My biggest concern is sequencing with every other project that we've got going on in front of us right now. So until I know more about that, I'll reserve judgment, but pencil me in for between upgrade and reimagine.
Yeah, Jim, I appreciate all this. It was great to come to the open house and to see the facility in depth. With that, I also was very encouraged by the amount of survey responses and the passion out here. I feel like it's important to note that I'm not a golfer as much as I have golfed, and I am a tennis player, at least casually, and I'm on the Nordic Council and do some Nordic skiing. But ultimately, it's really nice to see how this facility is used, and again, from the survey results, how people want to see it improved. So with that, I'm not sure how to answer other than saying that very much something needs to be done. But obviously it matters how much and how long and the construction impact, and can we get like private donations, what disruptions and adjustments will happen during the work, the sequencing with all the other events. But yeah, I really want to think long-term about this as well, especially if our summer is going to be a longer season. We discussed other communities' facilities like Vail and Breckenridge and what they have going on and how it's sadly a big improvement over what we have currently, another thing to strive for. I just want to adhere again to the city manager comments about this, which was sort of why I alluded to as far as just like, I think we're value signaling here because we can't make any declarative statements not knowing so much. So, I mean, I don't know how to answer other than like, yeah, upgrade, reimagine. It really ends up being what makes sense for the cost and the burden of going through these things. But I guess I wanted to say that the major themes on your survey results, I'm not sure if I've ever seen a survey where I almost agreed verbatim with them. As far as I thought they really encapsulated almost all of the things that I would want to see as well, and that I would imagine as an empathetic person putting myself in the shoes of people that use the facility, what they would want to see. So I would more answer this by being like, go after your survey results and try to come up with those numbers of how much and how long and what the burden would be. And that's why I'd be very interested in saying yes to something that really encapsulated everything that you're looking at and trying to make this the best facility that you possibly can. But it's obviously very largely dependent on those things. Last comments would be just some feedback I heard that's not necessarily in this. Was the locker space. We had a comment sent to us about how there's not enough locker space, and the way you do it now, as far as it sounds like people are almost like a season ticket holder for a sporting team that they get to renew, and it's very tough to get locker space. I thought that was another reason to potentially enhance the facility for that. Also something to look at now. And then the other one was I've been a big advocate of the indoor tennis, but I also have concerns, so I'd want answered as far as doing a little minimal research, it says that indoor tennis, you should have the roof be 30 to 35 feet high, and that being right next to the highway, and obviously having our buildings that are not super tall. I just want to make sure that is incorporated into the landscape so it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb for as much as I desire an indoor tennis facility. So before Bill or Christine speaks, I would almost ask you, like, is that the information that you're looking for as far as like the signaling that like I really want you to pursue all the themes in your survey and then come back to us hopefully with some solid numbers and timelines about this?
Personally, yes. I guess I would ask you guys, though. You guys are the ones that are going with pen to paper.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. If there is no appetite for something bigger or to address all of the things in the survey, but we decided to pursue that, that would kind of waste all of our time and money. So if there's an appetite for that, that gives us some direction for sure.
Okay. Well, then definite appetite, and I think there's a real opportunity here for something special that will be generations that can enjoy for generations. So it's very nice to be talking about this.
I echo a lot of what Sam says. If you flip to the next slide, I can try to answer some of those more specific questions. I can't really answer your scope question yet, but I think, yeah, the feedback that you've gotten is excellent, and it's more valuable than any sort of specific feedback I can give. I'm also not a golfer, and I've enjoyed some time at the restaurant there, and I've enjoyed a very occasional cross-country ski, but I'm not super familiar enough with all the facilities to give you.
Golf course more.
Yeah, I need more time, Jim.
Yeah. Touche.
That's what you could give me. I don't really have any specific answer on number two. I think that the Aspen Golf Club is all of those things. One thing I didn't hear any mention of is the junior golf sort of role, and that's an important role, I think. My kids have done a little bit of that and enjoyed it, so I think that obviously needs consideration and accommodation. I don't know how to answer number 4 yet, and I don't really know how to answer number 5 other than to say look to the feedback that you got and the common themes there. One additional thing I did want to bring up, and I've mentioned before, but I want to really try to hammer in and want you guys to be thinking about is this is the Aspen Golf Club. And I think that we are very generous with the broader community. And especially in the context of a major new investment that you're considering here, I think we should reevaluate that. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be somewhat generous to the broader community, but if Aspen is paying for this, then Aspen needs to be treated differently than everyone else. Very differently than everyone else.
To clarify, are you referencing like our pass structure and who has first priority?
Priorities, access, lockers, things like that.
Sure.
I just don't think that we've put Aspen first in this facility enough, given who supports it and who subsidizes it in a way. So,
Understood.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for your time.
Christine?
Thank you for these survey results. I think they aren't surprising and echo a lot of what we hear. And I just note that the top result is this thirst for community space and affordable gathering space and affordable restaurant space. And this is even happening at a golf and Nordic center. So continuing to prioritize that and keep it accessible is important to me and what you've heard from the community. In terms of answering some of the questions, I'd lean towards the update or upgrade level of this conversation, primarily just because, we just had a conversation about this at the ARC master planning level, and long-term, I think reimagining the area and the facility is what the community wants, but I'm not sure at the council table. For me, I always want to say bigger and better just because we can, and trying to balance the needs of the community, both financially and just at a level of how much can we take in terms of development and construction and always growing. So I would lean toward kind of moderate and number 2 on this, at least for the time being.
Awesome, thank you for
And
the
that's all I
input.
have. Yeah, thank you.
David, can we go back to the slide that showed kind of where we were in the process? Maybe we should touch on that. I'm just sensing you guys are kind of like, hey, you want input, but we don't know what the heck we're talking about here, and which makes good sense in terms of, we're asking you. We've been trying to not overrun our headlights in terms of getting ahead of the feedback from the community, and we spent, we were supposed to be done with the whole project by December, I think, of last year. So there's a whole bunch of slowdown to listen more, and so I think we're kind of at the end of that. So just to touch on, what we're going to do over the next, 4 or 5 months, we'll work the problem, come back to you guys then for more critical input on like where we are and have something more for you guys to react to. So there's definitely going to be several more touch points in terms of kind of what we'll be sharing with you and everybody else in terms of where this thing goes, and then be able to have a better conversation about what that looks like, and then get more guidance from you guys. So that at least to touch on that, where we're headed.
Guidance from you all and the stakeholder groups and the just general public, right there. Once we have some ideas and some plans, we'll reshare that with the community and get feedback again. So it's not like it's a static. We're just listening and now we're done listening and we're going to start drawing. It's an evolution the whole time.
Great.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks so much.
Cool, hopefully we'll be back with some great designs for you next time we see you.
Great. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
All right, that's our work session. Thanks, Grassroots.
No meeting tomorrow, right?